Welcome to Miss V, the Storyteller podcast. This podcast is for anyone who has lost their voice and want to get it back. I lost my voice at a very young age, and it took me years of pain and hurt to get it back. On this podcast, I will bring you personal stories, stories that make you laugh, cry, think, heal, and in some cases, propel you into making new and better choices. At the end of each story, I share with you my personal thoughts and I ask you questions to make you think. No one is perfect and no answer is wrong. So let's get started today with my special guest. I am so thrilled to have Mary Henderson with me today. Let me tell you, y'all, I have met some amazing people. And when I met Mary, I said, this lady has got to be on my podcast. Listen, Mary is in Australia. Okay. So she's on another day and she got up early in her morning to be here with me. And it's later in the evening here in the States. So we want to show her so much love and we appreciate her getting up to come and be on my podcast. So Mary, with that said, tell us something about you. Introduce yourself to my listeners.
Thank you so much for having me, Valeria. Well, as you said, I'm from Australia, hence the accent. I live in Melbourne. Some of you might have known that Melbourne has been the most locked down city in the world throughout this COVID crisis. It's true, it's a fact. And but outside of that, I have two children, two beautiful boys, 10 and 12-year-old. We live by the beach. I love the water, Valeria. I love it so much.
Oh my God.
I know, it just totally grounds me. And outside of that, I have a full-time business, which is a coaching business. And I graciously and honorably get to serve the most amazing humans in the world who are very experienced in their specialization. And I get to turn their knowledge, wisdom, and skills into a brand and also a online business and essentially an online program. So they become the authority in their niche and their industry fairly quickly. And I've been doing that since 2015. And prior to that, I had a software company for 7 years, which I resigned from my own company, which is another story in itself. Yeah. And prior to that, I was in corporate in the tech industry. So that's a little bit about my story.
Yeah, I wanted you to say that part about you leaving that job because I just thought that was so bold for you to get to the point you was like, okay, this is it. And now I'm going to do something for me. I love that. And I'm so glad you said that. So I know you listened to my podcast and you liked it. And I know you had some stories that you liked, but what story resonated with you and which one you want to talk about today?
Definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, my eye immediately was drawn to the gifts and talents immediately. And I was like, that one is my story. So I want to go there. So I love that. I love that podcast because number one, as you know, I'm a woman of faith. So definitely it resonated with me. And I think that we really underestimate what that really truly means. I think that we may go to church and we may listen to our pastor or our priest talk about gifts and talents. And then we go home and we're like, oh yeah, it's really nice that, I had a great sermon and the pastor spoke about gifts and talents and, let's just get on with our day. But it's actually a lot deeper than that, And in fact, if I may add this little bit, I was just listening to Neil Donald Walsh's new book, and he just made a very valid point in there. And he said, we try and solve all of our problems. And we also show up in the world as politicians and we solve problems like politics. And we don't solve it in the way that we're meant to solve it, in the way that God intended us to solve problems. And I thought, now that is talking to me because that has a direct connection to gifts and talents. And, because what we try and do is with gifts and talents, we try and fit into a box instead of actually taking a step back and saying, but what are my true gifts and talents? Truly, what are they? And spend time dissecting that and analyzing that. We don't go there.
You are so right, especially the part about the box. I don't
Yep.
even have boxes because to me, a box represents limitations.
Oh,
And when God gives you a gift and a talent, there shouldn't be any limitations because you don't know what direction the Lord is going to take you. You don't know how he's going to open a door. You don't know the steps that he's going to take you to actually do whatever you're gifted and talented in. So I am so glad you said that. And I appreciate that you see gifts and talents the same way that I do. And,
mhm.
it's not a political thing. It's not
No,
a me. A gift
no,
and a talent is given to us from God.
thank you.
And once he gives it to us, it's up to us to be open enough to allow him to nourish it, direct us, help us fulfill it, you know so what are your thoughts on the story? I mean, what did you get out of the story? Let me just tell my listeners a little bit. It was an episode where I shared about a gift and talent that the Lord gave me, and I was doing hair, but God wanted me to move into something else, and then I started doing makeup for theater and working in plays doing hair and makeup. And then, not knowing, God was preparing me for the next gift and talent that he was birthing in me, and that was working with children. And I had did something like that in the past, but he wanted me to work in the children's ministry at my church. But the performing arts company I worked with was for children. So when I start working in the church, I had those children putting on plays. I had them doing all kinds of things that I had learned previously. So a gift and talent could manifest into something else that the Lord wants you to do later. So, with that, me giving you a little background on the story, what are your thoughts on the story?
Well, it resonated with me because it's very similar to, well, it's not similar, but there's a direct connection to what happened with me and me finding my gifts and talents, truly. And that was when I had my software company, and then I resigned from my own company. And that was a very, very important moment in my life, Valeria, because that was that sliding door moment. That was the sliding door
Mhm.
moment where you either go back to your comfort zone or you go into discomfort, and you fully trust in God, and you allow God to take you on that journey. That's what I chose. But to do that, I had to do some radical things that most
Mhm.
people would not do. The first thing is that I had to give up that life and that narrative that I had, all about the facade, the credit card debts, the network of friends, the social circles that weren't really my friends to begin with. It was just a social circle that said, I belong to that group, therefore I am ranked at this level in society, right? I mean, what a waste of life. And so I gave up all of my friends, all of the social circles, all of
Wow.
my credit cards, and even members of my family. And what I did is I took a 12-month sabbatical. I resigned from my company. I fortunately merged it with another company, and that means I had 12 months to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. That was 2012. And so I the first day of that life of not working, not having to answer to anyone, no staff, nothing. I remember walking to my computer and Googling, how do I change my life? They were the exact
Wow.
words I Googled. So I started that journey. And then this TED talk, all these TED talks came up,
Mhm.
all these search results came up.
Yeah.
But there was one TED talk that stood out, and it was I don't remember what it was called, but it was something along the lines of, the power of love or something like that. So I thought, okay, that's what I need, a little bit of love. I'll click on that. And the speaker on that TED stage, oh my God, like it just resonated with me, like really, really resonated with me. He was a professor in philosophy, and he actually spoke about understanding at your core who you are as your true self, not your false self, and
Right.
how underlying all of that lies love. Love is the most potent medicine, solution, everything that we need always, everything comes back to love. So I thought, this guy's going to be my mentor. I just knew instantly in that moment, he's the guy for me. So I reached out to his office. His assistant messaged me 4, 5, 6 times and said, no, Mark's not taking on any more students. He's busy traveling the world doing keynotes, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm sorry, I need him to mentor me. And I ain't giving up until he says yes. So I'm going to send you
No, that's
a
right.
video every week until he says yes. And that's what I did. I was sending videos every week. Hi, Mark, it's Mary Henderson. I hope that you're well. Just another video today, just to remind you that I am your new student, you know, and it was really fun. Anyway, eventually she came back to me. She said, okay, we can't say no now, like enough. So she said, Mark wants to get on a Skype call with you, and he just wants to make sure that, you know, you guys are a good fit. To cut a long story short, he ended up mentoring me for 12 months. It was unbelievable. But through that 12 months, Valeria, this is the point at where it ties beautifully into your podcast on gifts and talents. It was in that 12-month period, and he said, what I want you to do, this is the starting point. I need you to write in first person the story of your life in the first 21 years. But I don't want it to be logical or linear. I don't want you to stop and think. I want you to free flow. Allow your soul to write the story. I'm like, where's this guy going? What's he talking about? How am I going to remember what happened to me at 1 year old? You know, well, these are the things that were going through my mind, because the ego is saying, oh, you can't do that. That's just silly. That's just crazy. So the ego will try and do everything in its power to stop you from moving towards your true self. Of course, it's going to do that. But I didn't know what that was at that time. And so I started this process of writing. I'm writing, putting the pen down, writing, putting the pen, writing. And I'm like, this is driving me insane. I just don't know where to start. It took me about 3 weeks. He said, don't worry, it will come. Don't worry, it will come. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. You know, and then about 3 weeks later, I was lying in my bed. It was maybe about 1, 2, 3 in the morning. I was very early in the morning, and I just had that urge to write. It just came to me, but it wasn't me. You know, I just got my notepad, I got my pencil out, and I started writing like a crazy lady. And I couldn't stop writing, because it was not me writing. It was my soul that was just fully in expression. It was just gorgeous. So that was a very important exercise, because me being a technical person, I'm like, well, what would this look like on an Excel spreadsheet? Of course I was going to do that, right? And I told Mark, and he was just laughing. He goes, you don't need to do that. I'm like, yeah, but I'm a tech person, so I do need to do it. I need to look at patterns, you know, like, is there a pattern in the last 21, in those 21 years? But you know what, Valeria, there was a pattern. I'm so glad I did that. That exercise has led me to this vocation. That's how powerful it is. Because what I saw in that spreadsheet was, I could see, and I asked myself, what was I feeling, thinking? What was the outcome, the expression, the things that I was doing in those years? And all of the things that made me super, super, super happy were all the same: singing, dancing, arts, self-expression, you know, blah, 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 all these things. So when I was doing all of those things, I was ecstatic. I was happy. When I was doing the things that I didn't like, or going to places I didn't like, happy, sad, you know, emotionally destructive, etc. So I took all of the things that made me happy, and I'm like, oh my God, like, these are actually my gifts and my talents. This is what I can do for sure. Why have I been hiding this? Oh my God. Like, I really had that massive aha moment. I've got goosebumps as I'm actually saying it to you.
I'm loving this, because it's so similar to me.
Yes. And then I shared it with Mark, and he just had a big smile, and he goes, I was waiting for this moment. Now, this is a professor in philosophy from Oxford University who's been an academic for 30 years. So he's taken a lot of people through this journey. He knew exactly what was going to happen to me. And he brought a lot of ancient wisdom that is not privy to, you know, the libraries, or, you know, they're not self-help books. I really got deep, 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 deep into the nano detail of who am I as a person. And then I realized another thing, Valeria. I thought, okay, my voice has been trained from the age of 5 years old. I never did anything with it. I had a lot of anger around that, a lot of, you know, confusion around it. I had no strategies. What am I going to do with this amazing voice? It's not going anywhere. But then I realized, when I did that 21-year exercise, hang on a minute, my voice is my gift. The
Yes.
talent is singing. So
Yes.
the gift is the voice. I need to channel that voice
Oh
and use
my
that every
God.
day, which is why I do every day. That's why I love podcasts.
Yes. Oh my God. Listen, I have to stop you right here. I have written down so much on this little piece of paper, but I just want to, because I forget it, I'm climbing the
Go for
ladder
it.
a little bit. So I had to write stuff down. But when you talked about your true self, I love that part you said about your true self, because oftentimes we look at ourselves in that person that we want everyone else to see. We've
Yes.
convinced ourselves that that's who we are, and it is
Hold on.
not. That is
You
not
got
the
it.
person that God sees. That is not the person that the people who really love you sees. I
Yes.
love that part. And then you were talking about the mentor, having a mentor in your life. And I love the fact, because oftentimes people think, oh, mentors can be somebody that you know. And I've written a story about this, and it's
Yes.
one of my episodes about Meet My Mentor.
Yes.
Oftentimes we think that it's somebody that we know. It can be somebody that you don't know.
Yes.
And like in
Correct.
your case, you didn't know him personally
No.
at first, but
No.
you
No.
decided, hey, this person would be the best person for me, and let me seek this person out because I know he's going to sow into me. And I
Absolutely.
met my mentor at a conference, and
Yes.
people were like, this is the person you need to talk to. And
Yes.
I am glad I did, because she helped me. Another thing you said was about your voice. I
Yes.
lost my voice, as you know, when I was 6, and stopped talking until I was 23. But I realized, when I think back, that was the enemy trying to take away the gift that God had given me, which is my voice.
Absolutely.
He
Spot
wants me
on.
to be a storyteller, and I have to use my voice to do that. And so he sent so many things as I grew up to try to take me away from that. And
Yes.
it's like, oh, no, 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 no. God was like, no, 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 no. Your angels, everybody protects you, until I got to the point where I realized that, oh my God, it is my voice. And this is what God wants to use. This is my gift, just like you said. So go ahead on. I just wanted to stop you because I was going on. The list was getting longer.
I think that the takeaway to my story is that there's actually a couple of things. The first thing is that when you can understand that your gifts are not the talent, they're two different things. The talent can change all the time.
Mhm.
The gift is a part of our DNA. And as my mentor called it, he said, this is your soul print. Isn't that beautiful? I love
Yes.
that. So you've got your DNA print, you've got a fingerprint, but you've also got a soul print. I was like, oh my God, that is just talking to me. But one other thing happened from that, and this is where it gets really beautiful. Because I took that time out, I really decided to build that relationship, understand what that relationship with God would look like.
Mhm.
What is that higher intelligence? Does it exist? Is it true? Is it all, dogma? I wasn't quite, I come from my parents are migrant, they're from Greek, they're Greek. So I come from a very strong traditional upbringing where religion is the epicenter of our family.
Mhm.
So even though we are I was brought up in a religious family, I it was different to my relationship with God now, because the way I was brought up was religion was something that you follow, whereas my relationship with God now is God is in my heart, and I can
Mhm.
talk to God and have that conversation with God 24/7, whenever, wherever. So it's
See, I
a
call that
change.
relationship. One is
Yes,
religion and one is actual
that's it.
relationship.
Relationship, which is exactly what I learned, and that was through my mentor. And because of that, I just sat with myself for that 12-month period. Yes, we worked through a lot of things, which was amazing. In that same time, I also got another mentor who was an expert in the emotional body, because I wanted to deal with all those blocked emotions that were
Mhm.
caught up at my cellular level. I wanted to release those and free myself. However, through that process and that Excel spreadsheet that I mentioned before, what I also realized, as Mark helped me unpack, is let's look at your true genius zone, not the things that you thought you should do. For example, owning a software company because I really wanted validation from the outside world. I don't want to own a software company. I really couldn't care less about software from that
Mhm.
standpoint. And it wasn't my natural state. I love the idea of being an entrepreneur. I love the idea of creation. I love the idea of all these things, but I didn't actually love the idea of owning a software company and building it and becoming an empire. It was not in my DNA. And so, but I learned a lot from that 7 years. And I also in my corporate life, I was VP of sales. I had massive sales teams. I was brilliant at communication. I was brilliant at building teams and sales and those sort of things. I was brilliant at also designing frameworks, given the fact that I had a software company for 7 years. And also, I was brilliant at turning people into brands. That was my genius. Now, I didn't know that that was my genius zone. I just thought, well, everyone can do what I can do. Are you kidding? Like, what? Who am I to think that I'm special? Well, here's what Mark said to me. Yes, Mary, people can do all of that. They just can't do it in the way that you can do it. Now, those words,
Absolutely.
okay, very
Absolutely.
important. Nobody can do it the way you can do it. Nobody can deliver it the way you can
Yes.
do it. And I was like, oh my God, he's right. So because of that 12-month period, it took me 3 years after that to actually design a program, a system, and an entire algorithm, which we turned into a software. 3 years, Valeria, not 3 self-help books. And now I'm a coach, not 3 months of going to a mastermind 7-day course at some hotel, fancy hotel, and getting a quasi certificate. Oh, now I'm a coach. No, 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 no. This is what my vocation is 100% based on my area of specialization, based on my natural state of being. What I teach is what I can do naturally. It's not something I've learned from a book. It's 40,000 hours of accumulated knowledge, wisdom, and skill set that I turned into my vocation, which I call my natural state of being. That's the gift God has given me. I realized that in that 12-month period, and now I have an unbelievable coaching business.
I love it. And I love the way that you made sure we understood that it takes time. It
Mhm.
wasn't overnight. It
No,
took doing hard work. And
yes,
even when God gives you a gift and a talent, it's not going to be easy. Anything that really comes from God, God is going to take us through different things so that we can
yes,
learn, so that we can really know our craft and what it is. Because for me, being a storyteller, podcaster, author, and all this stuff, it has not been easy, and it's not easy. But I get up every day and I show up and I'm like, God, tell me, show me, help me
mhm,
to absorb, help me to get what I need. And in your case, it was the same way. You were nourishing your gift and your talent, and God was just helping you to build what He wanted to use out into the world.
exactly. And the other thing, Valeria, is that I had to embody that as well.
Mhm.
It's not just knowing it. I had to fully embody it and consume it and breathe it and live it and love it. I had to fall in love with the gifts that God gave me and accept that they could solve a major problem in the world.
And that's,
And when I,
whew,
and when you can see that like
yes,
that, and I mean, the thing is, isn't it ironic that in my business today, it's exactly what I do with the humans I get to work with. It's exactly the same. I take their knowledge, their wisdom, and their skills, and I package that into a solution so they can sell it as a business. They turn they turn their life, professional and personal life experience into a business, into a vocation. I'm sorry, that is just a dream. You know what I mean?
it's mind blowing how God works and
Oh,
how He
yes.
uses people, especially if you're open,
Mhm.
obedient, and you put in the work. And
Thank
you've
you.
done it all. Well, I know we can talk for hours, but I want to get to this the questions that we have at the end, because I think these questions are so good. The first question, as you all know in my podcast, when you listen to my stories, I always share my thoughts at the end, and then I ask probing questions because I don't want to just leave with a story. I want you to think about it. So, one of the questions that I have is, what other gifts do you have, and how? No, that's not the right one. This is the one I want. Yes, it is. What other gifts do you have, and how are you using them?
I'm really creative. Like I'm really creative. And, and I'm outside of my voice. I just like, for example, I'm very good with coordinating colors and
Hmm.
just, using my hands. So I use that and I love to cook. Like I absolutely love it. But I actually love baking cakes, like beautiful birthday cakes that look like you've bought them from a bakery. I'll spend days creating the beautiful icing, creating textures. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I love it because again, it's like a meditative state for me. I get to
Yes.
express my creative side through something that I really enjoy doing, and it's nurturing my family. I mean, I just don't, it's just the most beautiful way to actually bring people together and just celebrate what you've just created in the form of food, which is just beautiful. Even when I cook now, Valeria, every night, I still serve my food like you're at a restaurant. It's all beautifully, beautifully served because I love the art of cooking. Like I really am passionate about that. So that's one of my gifts that I don't use in my business, but I do use in the kitchen.
But
So
we all have other gifts beside that. And you and
yeah,
I do have the same because I like to do crafts and I love to bake. And I
yeah,
think of it as we have the gift of our hands. And that's the
yes,
way I look at it because I used to be a hairdresser and I use my hands. I used to make crafts and gifts and all this for Christmas times, and I would make all these gifts and stuff, and I still do it now. And I love to bake. I love to bake cakes, cookies, and all kinds of things. And I look at it, I'm like, okay, God, this is another gift that you've given me. And I think that gift is personal because, like you just said, you enjoy it's something you do to
yes,
relax or whatever. It's a personal gift that God, He gives us gifts for the world, but I think He also gives us gifts for ourselves to give us some joy. And then
absolutely.
the last question was, are there any gifts and talents that you're not using and why?
Oh, I think that I use all of my gifts in some shape or form,
Okay.
and I think that, I mean, I would say that one of my gifts is I'm a great writer, but not in the form of writing novels or
Okay.
books or things like that. But I'm brilliant at writing marketing copy, like really, really gifted in that. And so, but I wouldn't say that I'm a writer as in like an English literature,
Right.
level, like I'm the person that's got Grammarly, installed on my on my browser because it's like Grammarly, is this right? Is it off OFF or off OF? So I'm always doing that. I'm always self-doubting, but you know what? That's not my gift. And I'm okay with that.
Right.
So where there's tools to support us, we should be using those tools. Okay. And that's another thing that I say. That's a very good question because where if something is not natural to you, leave it alone.
Leave it
It's
alone.
not natural.
Yes.
Leave it alone.
Yes.
See you later. Go and find what is natural to you because that's where you will thrive. That's where the opportunity is. That's where the business opportunity is. That's where you draw people towards you, not pull people away from you. Why would you want to walk an uphill battle when you can actually flow like a river? Honestly.
Oh, that is so good. See, now listeners, now you know why I really wanted Mary up here because I knew she was going to bring something. And I have thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show. So listen, I want my listeners to be able to reach out to you. I want them to be able to, if you have products, if you have things that you sell, anything, I want you, this is your time to just let us know how we can stay in touch with Mary.
Thank you so much, Valeria. Please feel free to email me, mary@maryhendersoncoaching.com. If you've got a coaching business and it's just not working for you, please book a free 45-minute coaching call with me. It is free. I will do a full gap analysis for free, and at least I can show you where your gaps are and you've got a plan. You'll know exactly where you're falling short. And of course, if you're interested in working with me, we can talk about that on that call. So that URL is maryhendersoncoaching.com, spelt normally. So maryhendersoncoaching.com//apply, APPLY.
Thank you so much. Yes, 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 yes. So I will make sure that that's in the description. So if you want to reach out to Mary, you'll be able to get to it. Now, I need you to remember that Mary is in Australia. So you because me and her, I messed up sometimes because that's like a whole day. So make sure if you're in the States that you realize that. So again, Mary, thank you so much for
Thank
agreeing to
you.
be on my show. I knew you were
My
going to
pleasure.
shine. I thank you for sharing that part of your life with us. And I really pray that the people who hear this will receive what you and I just discussed about their gifts and talents. And I pray that they will do some soul searching themselves to find out what their gifts and their talents are, and to just dig in and just start doing the work. So again,
Amen.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Valeria. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I pray that this episode will make you think about your childhood memories and your memories at all, and how they have impacted your life. If you like what you hear, please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, or you can email me at VALISONELLIOT@gmail.com. All right, friends, thanks for listening. Bye.